beer okay?
Ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. What's hams mean to you?
Good tasting beer.
I'm Crystal Kelly. I am part of a group of people called Hammpions.
First of all, Hammpions.
Now, it's somewhat ironic that I discovered this, because just a short time ago, I didn't even know what hammsbeer was. It all started when my shaman friend, Peter Hetzel, suggested I interview someone named Dr. Hamms.
I could talk hams all night, dear. This is just, it's not just a hobby with me. It is a passion. It really is. And
I think one of the things that Crystal was interested in is the origin. Where does it begin, where a passion begins?
I was curious because Peter had moved to Japan quite a few years ago, and I wondered why all of a sudden he was nostalgic about something from another time in his life. Well, timing is everything.
Kind of a synchronicity guy, and the blue Hamm's can came out this week.
I learned that blue can was part of something called a throwback pack, and that same week is when the throwback pack had been unveiled. I didn't know it at the time, but it had the Hamm's Beer Club nostalgic about the roots of their hobby.
My name is Andy Fletcher, and my connection to hams is, I guess I drink it a lot, but and I collect the beer signs. And I did the painting on the Hamm's 30 pack.
As an artist myself, I was instantly impressed that a national brand as large as Hamm's was keeping it real by hiring local working artists.
They gave me a vintage landscape painting, and they said, "Can you do something like this?" And I said, "I was born to do this." I was inspired by the old Hamm's advertising. And so that painting is basically me just combining 3 old Hamm's beer signs from the 60s and making one scene out of it.
Those inspiration signs for Andy were also made by a local working artist from the 1960s, Les Blacklock. Les Blacklock was a renowned wildlife photographer from Minnesota.
Les Blacklock, who is the photographer, right? This is a Les Blacklock with a Leica lens. I mean, I became kind of, not obsessed, but tried to follow his work and where he took these pictures and how he captured the aura of whatever it is, the Minnehaha Hiawatha spirit, the northern Minnesota spirit. Who was the elevated being at Hamm's, or was it the Hamm's family? Was it Theodore? And
Peter got me wondering about this Hamm's beer mystique, so I started out by asking Dr. Hamms where it all started for him.
And my grandpa was quite a beer drinker. His bar of choice was the Anchor Inn on Snelling Avenue, not too far from the State Fairgrounds. And of course, back then, kids could go in a bar, no big deal. And my grandma would say, "Well, go get Grandpa. It's time for supper." So I'd walk up to the bar, go in. Of course, the guys so they knew me and stuff. And I'd go in, they'd sit me up on a bar stool and give me a bag of peanuts and an orange pop. And they had a scenorama there though, with the moving water and stuff. And they said, if you watch long enough, a bear sticks his head out of that tent. Well, of course, it never happened, but the impression that made on a 7-year-old, and of course, you'd look away for a second. Oh, you just missed him, And so I told my wife, I said, I'm going to start collecting ham stuff.
And Peter had a very similar story.
my father was the owner of the QT Bar in Superior. Of course, one day, 7 years old or 8 years old, he brought home a deck of cards. This deck. And I just started staring. Look at that water make some movement. For hours, I would stare, Stephen, into this blue water and this red canoe. And I just, as a kid, 7, 8 years old, it's 1974, 73, and could not figure out what was going on here with this thing. It just compelled me. And then, of course, I started becoming more aware of other items. And in junior high, I remember the junior high instructor telling me, Peter, you can't only make Hamm's beer stuff.
And that's when I learned about the famous Hamm's beer. The Hamm's beer was created in 1953 by yet another artist, Bill Stein. Hamm's advertising agency, Campbell Mithun, used the beer for television commercials and print advertising.
Obviously, Bill Stein, who was one of the original artists for Hamm's, what a wonderful man he was. I mean, he embraced our club, our Hamm's Club. In fact, he designed our commemoratives every year. And he was just this nicest guy. He passed away here just last year. He was so generous to our club he designed the commemoratives every year, and he was just a great guy.
It's for the first time I told my wife this. I am the bear now. Like,
Right.
how can you move up from there? You can't. The kids love it. Everyone loves it so much. Like, people have a time with it.
I always say that people tend to collect things they grew up with.
As a kid, that movie scene there was just mesmerized. So to see myself in Barstow was kind of right in front of it, and I just gazed at it for an hour, and it just randomly takes 4 or 5 minutes to go through the whole scene. But as a kid, it's like it would never get old.
My grandpa died before I was even born, but then I found out years later that's all he drank.
That was his beer.
That was his beer.
That's so awesome.
So it's that connection I didn't even know I had.
Yeah.
Tonight, in honor of my father, right here, who was a Chicago firefighter, killed in the line of duty in 1975 when I was 7 years old. He's the one who got me started on the Hamms kick back in probably early 70s.
As I listened to these nostalgic stories, I started to align with Peter's idea that there was something mystical about this land of sky blue waters and this humble beer. There were a few more Hamm's origin stories that were both tugging at my heartstrings and others that were making me laugh.
What is going on, hamsters? It's the young gunner in the Hamm's cave. It's been a little bit. You got a good one today?
Oh, that looks cool. I should do that. So I started doing them and kind of got the name of the young gunner because everyone thinks I'm 15 years old on the page.
I actually was wondering, I was like, is he even 21?
I'm 25 actually. So, but yeah, it's funny when people are like, is that your dad's basement you're in? And it's like, no.
Seeds were planted and I became a member of the Hamm's Beer Club.
Again, Hamm's touched so many lives and so many people, generations. I mean, and that's a small segment, I realize, but we have, I think, close to 3,000 members.
I shared the video with Dr. Hamm's on my YouTube channel, and it was a smashing success. It was so fun, we decided to do another interview, and we named it Trash to Treasure. Dr. Hamm's invited Barry Travis, and we all discovered a few more coincidences.
And Stephen had said last time that some of the most valuable stuff for him, and I think it's for me as well, is valuable, most interesting, is the stuff that was meant to be thrown away, that didn't get thrown away, right?
And the word for the day for the class is ephemera, EPHEMERA, stuff that was not meant to be collected but is valuable.
Some of the artwork I do, and the reason why I originally met Peter is because I take pictures of bird poops that look like shapes, and I have always said that it's ephemeral art because it gets washed away with the rain.
And then another Hamm's Japanese connection.
Here is a box that a soldier packed up his belongings from Japan. It's dated 1944, and I'm sure he used whatever was around in the field to pack up his Japanese treasures, shipped in this box dated 1944, and it was trash, but it's probably the only example known, and to us collectors, it tells the story.
Another story I had been following along on the Hammsbeer Facebook page were the Caseys.
Well, it was my birthday, and she said, "Where do you want to go, Mexico or
Hawaii?" And I said,
let's go to Minnesota. I was going to St. Paul's, to the Hamm's Brewery. Get some of that Minnesota nice.
From Oregon to the land of sky blue waters, Winnebago, Minnesota. When I mentioned it, I found out the Caseys had arrived that day.
Well, they just went on to the bird's nest. His nickname is Big Bird, and so his bar is called the Bird's Nest, and so that's where the party's at tonight. We're going to give him a good dose of Minnesota Nice tonight.
And I found out this wasn't the first case of Minnesota Nice that Winnebago had dished out.
This is the first annual Dart Toss Road Trip Destination Reveal, where Derek is going to throw a dart or a Bic pen at a map on the wall, and wherever it hits is our spring road trip destination. Okay.
All right, here's my blindfold. Packer, second cap.
I think 4 spins maybe on your undoing, and I'll make sure you're pointing in the right direction.
I wish we had an actual dart.
It's one more. Okay, you are facing the right direction. The camera is ready for you.
Where will this vacation take us?
Oh, We are going to Minnesota.
Winnebago, Minnesota?
You think Winnebago?
I think Winnebago. I mean, it looks like it hit right there at Winnebago. One thing that I had always kind of wanted to do is throw a dart on at a map and go wherever it hit. And, you know, it was perfect. As you saw in the video, you know, like the second it hit it, we're like, Winnebago, we're taking a Winnebago to Winnebago. And, you know, then it got, you know, it started rolling on social media, the build up to it. And, you know, before we knew it, we had the whole town welcoming us.
I am Jeremiah, former mayor of Winnebago, Minnesota. Well, it was kind of cool to hear that they're coming. But then on the other hand, it's like, you know, what are we going to show them, or what are we going to do with these guys to show them a good time, you know? Because they weren't even sure of their arrival time.
We pull in the Winnebago, and there's a big sign that says "Welcome to Winnebago," which seems like a good thing to capture if you're doing a trip in Winnebago. Joe's driving the RV, and he goes, "Let's park next to it. Get a picture." I go, "Joe, that's someone's front yard. Like, let's not park in someone's yard." You go, "That's fine. Let's go get the picture."
And obviously, they weren't quite used to driving this big a rig. And as they pulled around to get this picture, they hit the sign.
Thinking, okay, we've made the worst impression ever on these kind people of Winnebago. And she walks over and she goes, "Where have you all been? We've been waiting downtown for 3 hours for y'all. The whole town's waiting for you."
It was big news for our small town of Winnebago. So there was a crew waiting for them at the welcome sign on the edge of town. You know, we took a bunch of pictures and then took them right to the bar.
I believe that coincidences are signs, and after all the stories I was hearing, there were too many signs pointing to hammsbeer for me to ignore. I convinced my cameraman, who is also my husband, that we needed to visit this mystical land of sky blue waters. It wasn't hard. Beer, camera, trip, taking cues from the dart toss guys, we decided to rent a Winnebago and go to Bego Bash in Winnebago, Minnesota.
Cheers. This is awesome.
Bego Bash started with COVID. All of the shows were shut down that year, and we just kind of talked about why Steve did. Why can't we have a show here? And I said, "There's nothing to stop us. You know, it's private property. What are they going to do?" So we leaked it out on Facebook that night, and it was an overwhelming a bunch of people that it like, "What is this? I got to come to this. We're going. What's the date?" And that would it snowballed, and it's just gotten bigger every year.
It was summer break, so we brought along our youngest production assistant, Penny.
That's for you. I have a grandson that's 7 and a granddaughter that's 5.
Penny, do you know who that is that you have in your hand? Remember that big bear head on your head yesterday?
Yeah. I want to make the bell on the unicorn.
Bego Bash was a good old barbecue. I was impressed by how committed these beer enthusiasts were.
How'd you get that license plate?
Well, I was at work and my buddy was looking at some vanity plates. And he said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm gonna look for some vanity plates." For shits and giggles, I said, "Well, I don't know if I can see."
Yeah,
okay. So Hamm's was available. It was 6 months ago. I'm like, "There's no way." So I applied for it. I got the firefighter plates for my dad. He's the one who got me started in this in the 70s. And they were still available. So I put Hamm's on this one. My mother drinks 7.7s. Highball was available for hers. I got hers. And then I said, "Let me see if I can get for a motorcycle." I got a firefighter that said "Dad" for my motorcycle.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you for having us do all this. It's awesome.
It's awesome.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's too real.
Yeah. It's awesome.
It's awesome.
It is. It's like someone said in there, I went in there, it's like kind of like a family reunion, you know, you don't see these people instead of online posting stuff, and so now you get to see them all talk, catch up, buy stuff, so.
It is.
Hi, everybody, get away!
Woohoo! Bego Bash, baby!
What's this experience mean to you?
It definitely means like family, togetherness, friendship, just everything. I couldn't have imagined meeting half of these people if I wasn't involved, and I love everybody I meet.
That's what I've noticed too. It's amazing. What is your favorite sign?
Corner sign, yeah, and it wasn't not so much because it's the only one of two known. It's just the whole story.
Cool is not even.
Steve Miner, if you choose to, you can take that sign home. Why?
Holy shit.
I've told that story 100 times, and I never get tired of telling that story. But just to think that 2 or 3 days later, that would have been in a pile, buried and gone. We're just caretakers, and it's part of history. So I mean, it's part of Minnesota, and I've lived here all my life. I've born and raised, and I really enjoy the history portion of it.
The history of hammsbeer is truly Americana at its finest.
I'm Kathy Tallman, and I'm the great-great-great-granddaughter of Theodore Hamm of the Hamm's Brewing Company from St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm the family historian. He came over here, he went to Chicago, and he was a butcher, and then she came over later. And then he actually acquired the brewery on a bad debt. Theodore's wife sounds like she was the brains of the organization.
The Hamm's Brewery was innovative from the beginning. They kept the beer cold in nearby caves and used the heat created in the beer-making process.
In fact, the brewery that's how they heated the mansion. They had it tunneled up the hill to the mansion, and the heat from the brewery actually heated the mansion. So he had 28 total grandkids, 43 great-grandkids, and we don't know how many, like us, the great-great there are. William Hamm I think it was 4 or 5 days that they had him. He was kidnapped right off the street by Ma Barker's gang. And he was held for like 5 days. They actually took him out of state. He was in Illinois. And then they demanded $100,000 ransom, which they got paid, and they released him.
When Prohibition was over, Hamm's Brewery began an era of growth and success. The brewery expanded over the years and became a national brand by the 1960s, with breweries in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Baltimore, and Houston.
I'm Scott Lovelace. I am the president of the Hamm's Beer Club. During their heyday, they sponsored dozens of sports teams. The Packers, the Vikings, the Bears, the Brewers, the Braves, the Twins, the Kansas City A's when they were in Kansas City.
With team sponsorships, the bear mascot, and the long list of slogans, Hamm's infiltrated the media as well.
My name is Kevin Hamm. And my connection to the Hamms is that my father was a Hamms business journal at St. Paul, Minnesota, while I became a sports journalist, but it was called It Bears Repeating. And I use that as far as kind of a sports slogan that if I'm writing about sports copy, it bears repeating that I should tell you this story. So that was the name of my column.
It bears repeating that sports fans love Hamm's beer.
Kansas City Chiefs, baby. Raiders, primetime TV, Monday Night Football. Let's go, Chiefs! Go team!
What's up? So Hamm's my last name, Chris Hamm, and my grandpa was a distributor rep at St. Cloud for years, so it's been well bred within the family, and all the collectibles pretty much my entire life.
Tell me the story of how you ended up with Hamm's Rust car.
Sure, absolutely. So I got this car this past winter, and the previous guy had modeled it after a NASCAR. And it popped in my mind a month or two ago, hey, let me go back to the wrap place and see if I could just swap things up. Like, it was a big 9 on the side, and I'm like, we'll make it the Hamm's car. And the other fun part, because again, my last name's Hamm, there's the big Facebook groups people may have popular with the community. But I thought it'd be super fun to make it a surprise because everybody's so passionate about Hamm's, where I was even worried I drove it less because I didn't want to be like in Minneapolis where I'm from, or else somebody posts it online or takes a picture, and then people are like, oh, this is cool. So I wanted to be like a total surprise, like out of the world.
So this is the unveiling.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
For the community, for sure.
And what was the tagline that you picked for the back?
It's a lesser known one from the 70s. And I played volleyball in college, big beach volleyball guy, and I've got this in Florida. So down there, I've got this record. It says Hamm 74, which is my birth year, and it's got a surfer on it, and a blue record. But that's the tagline, bursting with freshness.
Well, Hammpions really know how to ham it up. This is Jim Schwery. He is a little camera shy, but when the Hamm's Beer Club led an auction to help us raise money for Hammpions, Schwery and Mr. Outstanding led the bidding.
Oh, if you don't know it, you've been possibly part of a beautiful documentary on Hamm's beer collecting here. $1 bill, 85 and 100, sure you would, Schwery. 85 and 100, 100, 85 here, 100, 100 down to that 100, make it a $100 bill. Did you say it? 100 here. There's 130, now 40, 140, 50, 140, 50, he ain't backing down, go get him. 140, 50, 50, down to that 50, make it 50, 140, 50, sure you would. 140, 50, it's only money. You want 50, now 60, 150 here and 60, now put it like 60, sure you would. 150, 60, Schwery there, the boy. 30, 40, down to like 40, just add a 0 to whatever Schwery buys. 30, 40, down to 40, down to 30, 40, 40, down to 40, down to 30, 40, Schwery, let's go. Jim Schwery. Yeah, next year we'll have an ATM out here.
And when Mr. Outstanding won the Hamm's jersey, he gifted it to the woman he was bidding against. The true definition of a Hammpion. When I found out 2023 was the 25th anniversary for the Hamm's Beer Club, we had to plan another trip back to the land of, this time, icy sky blue waters.
We had almost 1,200 people come through, which was a record for us, and I think our biggest show ever. There was a huge line out the door for a couple hours.
We're at 10 to 9 and we're sitting in our pickup and Dan's going, oh my God, look at the line. And it was cold out. Sat in the truck till about 20 after 9. He goes, we better get in line because this line's just getting longer and longer.
Exactly.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah. I gotta take it all in.
Better halves today, so.
Oh, you have?
Hey, over here!
The championship, and since Kirk forgot the prizes, the only thing he was responsible for today. That's the only thing you're in charge of.
Go, Kurt.
All right, let's get the handshake line together. Okay, can Team Renneker come over here and get your name?
For $100, I'll give you a strategy.
There he is. All right, ready to go.
Yeah, we're trying. Thanks for being quiet.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Good job. You guys cheated, but good job.
Yeah. Thank you for coming.
That was fun.
Thank you. That was fun.
Greetings from suburbs of Chicago. Wow, what a great weekend last weekend was. Holy cow. I'm still kind of taken back by the kindness of everybody at the show up in Medina, Minnesota. Everybody that I met from the group, just off the chain, a good time. The hospitality, unbelievable. The items that were for sale, just everybody. It was just such a great, great time. Special shout out goes to Dave and Missy at the Bird's Nest, the after party. Although I was dead tired, what a great time. Also, big shout out to Joey Lamps, who I have this special edition lamp he made for me. And guess who signed it? Yes, Dr. Hamm's himself. Another special shout out to Steve Miner, the doctor, with, my God, the collection is just, I was speechless. It took my breath away. So thank you for your hospitality. Thank you for opening your home.
Hams.
As I was wrapping up my interviews, I learned of one more Hamm's Japan connection that confirmed I need to send Hammpions to Japan.
They did test run hams in Japan.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. He's got cans that are from Japan. So that's another thing I didn't even know until he wrote that article last year for the newsletter.
I want to do this so Peter can be nostalgic in his new land of magical waters.
This blue water, and these pictures, and the artists who made these things, and there's just something that still has a huge appeal to me. And one of the segues, Crystal does a lot with the spiritual side. She's kind of a mystical person, and I guess I've been thinking that this blue water and this image was really the start of my own like mystical element that I have. I really credit it to that as a child, just staring into that blue and just letting my eyes just kind of wander. So my connection with this brand is really deep. And then to be here with you and Crystal at the same time talking about it, it's just it's a dream come true.
So a dream come true for me would be to send a Hamm's throwback pack with red crown cans to Peter and all of Japan. I've reached out to the current owner of Hamm's Beer, Molson Coors. I've written emails, sent social media posts. I've even called on the phone, tried to talk to a real person, but I haven't gotten any response. I'll just throw it out here. Molson Coors, can we send a throwback pack with red crown cans to Japan? I'll be your ambassador. Hammpions has been a really fun project. What I learned from Hammpions, this land of sky blue waters, Bego Bash to Medina, I came to a conclusion. Whether the magic lies in the land, the bear, the beer, the real magic lies within the beer holder and their hearts. By opening a can of Hamm's, they open their hearts. Drink a Hamm's. It's the refreshingest.
But they had a slogan, it's the refreshingest.
Oh.
Now, look up refreshingest in the dictionary.
Is it a word?
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. But I said, it's the refreshingest. I mean, it just, yeah, that works for me.
Okay.
Yeah. I got a face for radio.
What is going on, hamsters? It's Hump Day, aka Wednesday. We're in the Hamm's Cave, land of sky blue waters, Minnesota, St. Cloud, Minnesota to be exact. As we wind down, just trying to get the last couple things in before it starts to do the S word here, snow. Woo! It's been a little bit. But, you know these boutiques, we love them. Rookie. Alright, cheers, gang. Slam of hams. Drill. Peace. Cold as ice. Woo! What's the password?
Lake Sky Blue Waters. Thank you.
Zipamo.